All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the November tournament game. I'm going to start referring to that because by month, because I'm going to make this a running series, make it its own playlist, because this is going to be one team's travel through a tournament, and a team that's never been in a tournament has very limited experience with alliance play in general, and hopefully you can learn along with us. Um, as we go through this very, very educational experience. So, taking a look at sort of the major things that are happening on the map right now. Right now, we've sort of stagnated. I don't know if you want to say that, or just sort of become stable up in this region. So you can see England doesn't appear to be active very much. We did see a big stat coming down over to here, potentially landing here, of I think 35-ish. So landing here in Spain, which really brings us to what's big right now. So before I come down to Spain, I'm just going to skip around here geographically because the big story was and is Russia right now. So here's the deal: we won early on a couple of territories, and then we pushed in and got a couple more, and it was hard won, but we took it. We wrested it from their hands. At the same time, they took two islands, which I'm not really sure how you would defend these islands, to be honest with you. Italy has a lot of, I guess it could have potentially happened. We need to take a look at that. That is a lot of troops massing over here. We have 25, 26, 26 with some in the water and a question mark over here. Italy is aware of that, though, and can defend. So a lot of stuff's going on here because it is day 9. Day 9. What that means is on day 10, the first crop of factories will complete, and we will begin building cannon. Officially, there will be cannon building on the map. Now, if you're aware of the shortcut, then if as soon as you build your first cannon, you also build your level 2 fort, then that level 2 fort will complete in 2 days and cut down the 4 days off of your cannon. In theory, down to 3, although as I've mentioned before, I've never seen it go down to actual 3 days. But it's also, I've never been razor sharp on my timing, like at day change, being really careful about all that stuff. So potentially we could have cannon on the map like at day 13 at the beginning of the day. Otherwise, it's probably going to be later in the day. Does that make sense? Let's see. No, it would have to be after day 13, right? Like, so at day 10 you start. Day 10 to 11 is one day. 11 to 12, 12 to 13. No, at the beginning of day 13, we should be able to finish cannon. And if it's not exactly that sweet of a deal, somewhere in the middle of day 13, we'll have cannon on the map, hopefully. So here's the deal. Our big push was into Russia. And then one of the things we've talked about is it's just such long distances that you have to traverse. By the time we were able to push north further at all, they already had enough forts to stop us. And we'd already pushed through forts to get to where we'd been. So we just didn't have the manpower to sort of bully through. So we ended up being static here, which is not a terrible place to be. I mean, Russia is down 1/3 of his power. Also, we're up 4 wheat. That's really, really big because that's allowed us to have a lot of barracks and a lot of infantry on the board. As of right now, we do have the infantry advantage. I've had, I think, 5 barracks going, and I think I'm down now to nope, I had to shut them down. I was down to barracks only in my doubles, but we're running out of food too. I'm depending obviously over here on these double wheats from Doggo to supply me, but he's also supplying everybody else, and our armies are getting bigger, and of course there's that daily upkeep of wheat. So had to shut those down. However, we have had that advantage early on. Now, we thought about it. We're like, okay, we've got a lot of options on the map now, but it's getting kind of scary because they sit on all the oil, right? Russia has this infamous double oil and single oil. And down here, Morocco has that double oil. It's just the devastating double oil. And I think Britain has one. There's little ones here and there, but it's really the fact that they have 3 doubles. It's just devastating. And of course, that's where you build your factories, and that increases your production. It's just, and they're not bad for material either. They're not great, but they're not bad either. So they have a lot on the map right now. So the question is, how do we endure the middle game? Because they're going to out-cannon us. They're going to out-mech us. There's just no question about it. We don't have nobody on my team has a double oil, not even one. And we maybe have 3 or 4 oil together. I have to look at our resource stats, but it's just not good when it comes to energy. We've got tons of coal, though. My God, if only we had steam-powered tanks or something. But we don't. So here's the thinking from us. Everybody starts cannon on day 10, right? And we can scrape up enough resources for 4 to 6 cannon. So the idea was this. We're going to build factories here, 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 and here. And it worked out really well that the Ottoman from down south conquered these two just naturally. And then Alpha Doggo here, Austria, conquered these two naturally. And if it didn't happen that way, we we're going to try to make it happen with trades later. But we didn't have to. So that was really fortunate. And so we have factories building on all 4 of these. On the beginning of day 10, all 4 of them will develop cannon. Now, we know that they're going to try to develop as much cannon up here as they can to counter that. However, nobody can come and help them. So again, we're kind of relying on this fact that Russia is fairly isolated. Now, sneak here, they traded countries here. So Sweden took over this country of Russia. And I don't think Russia got anything in return. Did they? I don't think they did. So it wasn't a trade. It was a giveaway. Russia just gave it over to Sweden. I'm going to count these territories later and make sure. 3, 4, 5, 6. So Russia has 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Russia has 7. That's correct. Gave away his 8th, and we have the other 4 to make 12. Wow. So they did not trade. They just gave this over to Sweden. And it's a weird move because their morale went down to 35. I think. I'm not sure of that, but it went down. It went way down. When you give a territory away, the morale goes down. So the morale went down, built back up over the day 7 to day 8, and then it only went up 2 from day 8 to day 9. And mainly, I think, because we had guys, enemies in the territory reduces your morale increase. That's one of those factors that affects your morale. That's why those 26 are there. So a weird kind of move, a weird kind of flex. These guys have been sitting on low morale countries for a while, so their morale has to be going down as well. We're going to keep 26 here for a while, just for that exact reason, just to reduce the morale. So here's the plan. We're going to develop that for artillery. We're going to be moving stuff over here for the next several days. Remember, this is the artillery going to develop on day 13. So that gives us another 4 days-ish, maybe 4.5 if it's day 13 and a half. So we got about 4.5 days to start moving stuff over to this region. So I think what's going to happen is we got a lot of stuff here. Right here we have almost 40, 50, 60 right here, 60 from the Ottomans. Then we have 31 from Italy here. And then Austria-Hungary is sending a lot of stuff, including some of the stuff that they had way down here in Spain. Oh, no, that's Ottoman again. Oh, man, Ottoman's got a lot of power. I believe Ottoman's the second most powerful player on the map behind Spain, which we worry about. We'll talk about Spain in just a minute. So the idea being, though, that we're going to make a big, big push. Now, you would think we would push into Moscow. We talked about that, in fact, in the previous video, and then push on to get the double oil and or St. Petersburg. But here's the thing. By the time we have cannon on day 13, maybe 14, and then we wage wars for a couple more days, and then hopefully by then we'll have the level 2 factories, which allows you to build cannon in 2 days. So we have a whole nother generation of cannon coming on the map. So wars are raging now, of course. It's day 16 now, and we're still raging. Wars are raging, and day 17, this game only lasts until day 21. So we're not making any long-term plans. We don't really need to grab these. We'd love to have that oil. That'd be wonderful. But, after we grab it, it's still going to be 2 or 3 days before the morale even gets to a point where it's producing much for us. So we have to play this game in the moment instead of thinking long-term. We haven't built any railways because we determined that the time it would take for the railway to repay itself, to pay for itself, is longer than we have in this game. It's usually going to be about 8 days before a railway or a harbor pays for itself. Now, that doesn't apply to double energy or double material, anything that you really need in the game, go ahead and beef it up with a railway or a harbor, because even though it might not pay back in the materials that it costs, it's worth it. Now, as far as materials, I don't know. So, like, if we look at this territory, for instance, here, he's got a railway there. It cost him 5,000 wood and 3,000 iron to make it. And now it's giving him a good bonus, 33% bonus on wood, right? So it may or may not be worth the 5,000 wood he invested. Now, harbors are even worse. Harbors are 10,000 wood. 10,000 wood, and they only give you a 25% bonus. Now, in a normal game, that's a wonderful thing, because once you do get to day 25, day 30, day 35, it's starting to stack up. All these harbors you have, all these railways you have, it's really starting to benefit your economy. But this game is not about that. Tournament games are not about that. You've got to get to day 21, and whoever's got the most points at day 21 wins. It's a different beast, and we're learning how to deal with it. One of the things we've learned is we're not going to build harbors, we're not going to build railways unless they are on double oil resources that we need desperately, or possibly, maybe, for instance, we might build a harbor on a double steel if we have lots of wood but not enough steel. So there are exceptions to that. But overall, that's the goal. So the point here is that we could attack up here, but what we're going to do is even better. I love what we're going to do. Right before we're ready to attack, we're going to move 50 or 60 men up here and camp out right here. Camp out before the cannon are even built. Okay, maybe like a day or two before the cannon get here, camp out. What does this do? Well, Russia has fortified the heck out of these two territories, probably even has a cannon in each, maybe even more, because this is the gateway to their capital. They don't want us to get that. And it's the gateway to their oil. They don't want us to get that. But again, we don't care. We're not thinking long term here. We have to get to day 21, right? So we're coming here and we're immediately going to cut off any reinforcements to Vilna. Oh, I love this new plan that we've got. Ryan and I talked about it on voice chat, and he suggested it, and I was like, whoa, dude, that's a great idea. You know, if we attack over here, it's okay, but they're going to be ready for us. They're going to be so ready for us over here. You can see I have vision. Someone's spies got through, so we have vision on Russia. They don't have a lot of stuff. Most of the defense over here is going to be from Sweden. So this is the natural attack over here, but I love this because we defend here. Oh, by the way, just FYI, here's a factory building a cannon at day 10 tomorrow. Here's another factory. Here's a factory. And here's the other factory here in Vilna. So we successfully sabotaged this factory, so delayed the building of this factory. So they're going to get late cannons out of here. I personally have spies in this, and this territory, hoping to do the same in one or two of those. And then on the day that we attack, day 14 at the latest is when cannons will develop. So day 15 or 16, we're going to be able to start attacking in. Now, the other advantage to attacking here, as opposed to either of these two, is that the only way to get into either of these two is over here through Kharkov. You can't go from here. There's no roads to get you to either of those two, so you've got to go all the way over to Kharkov and then up and over. Whereas if we attack Vilna here, you can go straight from here, up this road, and boom. Straight from here, up this road, and boom. Now, they're long roads, don't get me wrong. Long roads on enemy territory. We know how devastating that can be. But the cool thing is we're bringing up a big force just to cut off reinforcement before the war even begins, before the main engagement begins. So some great stuff going on here. I'm loving it. We got to stay out of cannon range from the cannon that develops in this fort. But overall, I think it's going to be no problem. This is definitely further away than a cannon can shoot. Meanwhile, I have one factory building in Berlin, and it's going to take me a while to get there, and I started 18 hours later than everyone else, so I'll be attacking about 2 days later. But we love that too, because as it becomes evident that Vilna is the target, which I don't think they expect at all, they're going to start streaming support in from Riga, because I promise you, they are worried about Riga. Riga is sort of a place where I can be streaming in. They don't know how many people I have in this level 2 fort here. I've got no idea. And so this is an entry point, a traditional entry point into Russia, a place where Russia can be swarmed. So I know they've got a lot of defense here. In fact, I've been watching them landing stuff here and moving them in for the last several days. So they're going to start streaming stuff down in here to protect Vilna. And then, right, a day and a half later, That's when I attack in with my one cannon, not a lot, but it's a cannon. And I'll probably by then have about 40 guys. And we did talk, I think Raya can send me another 20. So I'll have 60 infantry and a cannon, which is, you know, a decent force, right? And so what we essentially have here is 4 of us, once again, attacking Russia. And the defense is very meager. Russia has a small number of troops. We can count them. 1, 2, 35. And then there's one in St. Petersburg. That's it. That's all Russia has, period. Now, Sweden has a lot more than that. Sweden's got a decent amount of troops. But again, it's just the 2 of them, and any reinforcements have to come across the water. So we're going to do another rush. We did a rush as soon as we were able to with infantry, and as soon as cannon developed, we're going to do that second rush. And I think it's going to have the same effect as the first time. It's like, what are you going to do about it? There's 4 of us, right? There's Harkold, Doggo, me, and Raya going to be involved in this. Now, Raya will only have 50 or 60 infantry involved, but still, that's 50 or 60, man, that are going to be all the way over there. So that's going to be fun. We'll see what happens over here. I will say this. Let's just look at the point situation right now. If you look at the alliances, we are 50 points ahead. 50 points ahead. So if we fight to a standstill here, we still win. We don't have to take any territory. So I've been trying to tell my teammates, like, look, we'd love to take Moscow and the double oil. We'd love to take their capital in St. Petersburg. We'd love to take even Vilna here, possibly Riga. That'd be great. But even if we don't, we still win. Now, of course, that's contingent upon us not losing elsewhere. So let's talk about the rest of the map. Harkold is safe. Let's just face it. He's safe. We've killed off any water scouts in this region. I say killed, but yeah, we killed them off. They're gone. So there was one more up here. So they have no more vision of this entire quadrant. Harkold is safe until we see somebody come in here, and then he can be worried about it, but then it'll take days to get to him. So we have one player that's completely safe. We have Raya Force here in Italy, who is not safe, but water landings are devastating. In fact, that's why we lost our first tournament practice game against an outside alliance, the Golden Wind, is we landed on Italy and thought that we could make it happen. And an alert player will bury you with 5-to-1 odds, sometimes 6-to-1 odds. We saw 6-to-1 odds where it was like we lost 36 and they lost 6, and we're like, what the what? And so this is an excellent player down here, by the way. Raya Force will not be defeated down here. That's why he even just said to Harkold, go ahead and take your 22 out. They're going to be better used on the Eastern Front over there. So you can see what Raya has down here. On this island alone, nobody's getting to Palermo. And he needs to protect that oil, obviously. But, like, look, this is a maybe even way too much stuff, but certainly enough. And that's what we care about. There's 15 people on this island that can shuttle back and forth to any one of these defense points. So it's golden. It's safe. And the same thing is happening in the mainland here. He has 4 cars with a total of 8 defense that move fast and have a total of 8 hit points, right? Double the hit points of infantry. Just rugged, fast defensive units that can get anywhere on the shore. So I'm not worried about Italy either. Who am I worried about? Yeah, I'm worried about France. I've been worried about France for a while once cannon develop, because France has a land entry. And we've learned in this game, particularly in the tournament version, right? But also just in any alliance games on these maps, it is the land entries that will screw you. Because even if they attack with a big disadvantage, eventually they wear your forts down and you lose your defensive advantage. And if there's enough of them, they will destroy you. The cool thing about the shores is you have insane advantages that never go away. You don't wear down that shore advantage. Now, what you can do is eventually you do get out of the boat. So I got to say that happened to us. That happened to us when we lost Sarajevo over here, is we got to them and counterattacked while they were on the shore. And we did some really good, like, I feel like 5-to-1 damage, something like that. No, it was 2-to-7 damage. We lost 2, they lost 7, but it was good damage. But their time was almost up and they got out of the water. And as soon as they got out of the water, it was like, oops. So there is a time limit on that too. I shouldn't make it sound like it's unlimited. But we missed like 3.5 hours of their 4.5 hours of debarkment. We lost most of that time because we weren't there. We had to run up and attack them as they were getting out of the water. So if you're there, if you're already there, you got a long time. You got a lot of attacks. 6 or 7 attacks at that devastating advantage to take them out. So it is the land approaches. We've learned it's the land approaches that we have to worry about. Now you can see I'm running infantry up to be here and here. I'm running another one over to be here, because here's what I love. If you're looking at this from the enemy's point of view, you will see 5 question marks, right? 5 different countries and 5 question marks, and that has got to be intimidating. Now, I'm going to make sure and let everyone know, if you're just a 1, don't leave the fort. Stay in the fort. Don't reveal that you're just a 1. They don't know who we are. They don't know how many are there. So as of right now, I just love that intimidation factor. Over here, there's going to be 4 question marks as soon as I get over there. Over here, there'll just be 2. Unless we can get Italy to run one over. Why not? Italy could run one over, so we'd have 3 question marks over here. So again, a lot of that sort of screening, psychological type stuff, puffing up to act like you're bigger than you are. But here's what's going to happen down here, I'm afraid. We have 3 factories developing, 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if they have enough materials. So I don't know if I did mention this. There are 4 factories in Russia, 3 factories in Spain, 2 factories in Great Britain, and 2 factories down here. We're not even sure how that's possible. We have 6 factories on the map, period. There's the 4 over here we talked about. I have 1, and France has 1, because France has to have 1 against the threat we've talked about down here. So they're not cheating, because you can't cheat in this mode. There's just no way. But they have got to be spending every last penny to get these factories. And then my question is, what happens when it's time to build cannon? So we kind of thought, it's like, okay, we got 4 here, 2 more in Great Britain. That's 6. Whoops, that's not Great Britain. That's Great Britain. That's 6. 3 more in Spain. That's 9. 10, 11 that we know of. And I don't think there's any in Sweden. And by the way, I'm not counting this one as Sweden's, even though it is Sweden's. So that's 11, right? 11 factories to our 6. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to build the 6 cannon. But we are budgeting now. Raya Force did a great job of determining what we have and what we have a deficit in, and what we need to be buying every day change as soon as we can to try to get cheaper supplies. And so we're hoping we can accrue enough silver to meet those stringent budget needs to be able to build 6 of them, 6 cannon. They have 11 factories, and there is such a thing as overbuilding your factories. You should really only build enough factories to where you can then build cannon in them immediately. If you have factories that are sitting empty, especially in a game like this, then you have misallocated resources. That's a waste of resources. You'd be better off to have, if they've got 11 factories, but they can only build 4 or 5 cannon, then they should have 9 factories and build 9 cannon. See what I'm saying? You use your resources. So I'm not saying that's what's happening, because this is definitely a good team we're playing against, but it does seem like that. It seems like that. They don't have a lot more resources than us. Now, one thing we talked about is we've been spending more money on spies than them, but I don't know if that's correct, because I've gotten a lot of my spies killed, a lot of them, which means they have defensive spies. So they're spending some money on spies. So it's a very interesting metric here. I'd love to talk to this team afterwards if we could have a post-game breakdown. They are from Brazil, and of course they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Because of an ancient sort of division of the New World that the Pope made. The Pope made a division along a vertical line that on one side of the vertical line, Portugal would get the lands, and on the other side, Spain would get the lands. And it turns out that Spain got lucky. Nobody knew where anything was in the New World, but west of that was pretty much everything. And east of that, though, was Brazil, pretty big chunk. And that's why that big old bulge to the right of South America is Portuguese speaking. Brazil. So, but they speak pretty good English, thank goodness. I speak passable Spanish, and Spanish and Portuguese are fairly close, but not. I mean, I think honestly, a Spanish speaker and a Portuguese speaker could probably understand each other, just kind of, enough to maybe even get by. I found it interesting when I was studying Spanish that I could. There was a part in The Godfather where they were speaking Italian, and I was like, holy shit, I just understood what they said, something about an old man, something or other. And I was like, oh my God. So there is a lot of cognates, a lot of common words and grammar. Anyway, not to get off on a tangent there, because I do want to wrap this up ASAP. It looks like the main threat here is going to be in South France. So we're going to keep an eye on that. However, I get carried away here. I think we counted. Let's do it again. Let's count it again. There are 4 cars here. This is 9 cars. This is 14 cars, 15, 16, 17, 18 cars. Now, this is not a glitch. We have been passing him steel for forts and cars this whole game. And I've had an excess of steel, and a couple others have had an excess of steel. You can see I'm still building over here 100 per hour of steel. So he has a shitload of cars, and that is beautiful. That's a wonderful thing. However, cars aren't that great against cannon, except for the fact that they have 2 hit points. But if you're just getting shelled, if you're just getting rained down upon, they're not that wonderful. However, 18 cars, 18 cars, you can run fast and hit hard. That is, and then 18 cars has 36 hit points. That's a lot of hit points. So they're durable. So that's a big thing. It's going to be a big thing in this defense of southern France. The funny thing is, nothing has happened here on this front. Nothing. No skirmishes. You can tell there's not even any scouts on the border anymore, although I wish there was one scout at least on the border. But it's been all quiet here. But I'm telling you, all hell is about to break loose. It really, really is. So we'll see what happens. I'm super excited. All right. Thanks for checking in, guys. Really, in the next few days, it's really just kind of the calm before the storm. I don't know if I'm going to do a day 10 cast. If nothing happens, I might not. Because at this point, we're all just waiting for cannon. It would be foolish for anybody to mount a major attack right now so it might even be a day or two. Let's see. I'll wait and see. So day 10 dawns and we start building cannon. That's a huge thing, but it's nothing I really need to cast on the game here live. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but it probably might be a couple more days before the next video comes along. So thanks for hanging in there, guys. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos.